Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Mead.
And I'm Christy.
And in this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, well, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose.
Hello, happy Monday, and welcome, Heather.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Yay.
We're so glad you're here.
We have a wonderful new friend, Heather Creekmore, on with us. And I met because I came on your podcast, right?
That's right.
That's
right.
A while ago now.
Yeah, maybe 6 months.
Yeah. And then I heard about your new book of all your many books. And so I'm really excited to talk about it today. But let me just introduce you to the gals that don't know you. Heather Creekmore writes and speaks hope to women each week, inspiring them to stop comparing and start living. She's the host of Compared to Who, which is a great podcast, and the author of 4 books, including the one we're going to talk about today, the 40-Day Body Image Workbook. She's been featured on Fox News, HuffPost, and so many different shows and podcasts. Oh, wait, I didn't know this about you, by the way, until I read this in your bio that you were on Nailed It.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, my daughter's obsessed with that show.
Season 1, episode 1. I'm in the pilot of the show.
Gosh, and we're gonna go watch that.
It's epic. It really is.
What did you bake?
So actually, if you get an error message on Netflix, you see my cake. It was a blue, like Cookie Monster blue color cake that was leaning to the side. That's mine. Yeah, it was good fun.
That is so awesome. Okay, and so Heather lives in Austin with her fighter pilot turned pastor husband and 4 kiddos in Austin, Texas. So welcome, Heather. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
I'm so excited for this topic because, well, how many times have we talked about this topic? I mean, when we're talking to women about alcohol or just women in general, because they're women and they have bodies, we end up talking about body image, right?
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit of your backstory and how you landed on wanting to write this awesome workbook?
Yeah, well, wanting to write about body image, that's not an accurate sentence. Because no one actually wants to write about this stuff, right? And so, it was probably almost a decade ago now. And I felt God's prompting to write a book. And I wanted to write a book about marriage because I thought that would be really funny. And there would be funny stuff in there. And I tried and I just couldn't get the words to come together. And my husband was like, hey, you've been talking to MOPS groups and such about body image. Like, it feels like this is a significant story in your life. Why don't you write about body image stuff? And I was like, I will never write about that stuff. And here we are. But I started struggling around 3rd grade. I would say now that I probably had some sort of atypical anorexia. Certainly at the end of high school and into college, I lost my period for almost a year, my sophomore year of college. And so that should have signaled that something was wrong. But candidly, I mean, as you both know, the culture we live in, it's normal to try not to eat for as long as possible or try to live on as little food as possible or over-exercise or always be living for a deficit where I know I've eaten this many calories, I need to burn off this many calories. And that was my normal. And I had no idea that it was disordered. And so I lived like that really through my 20s, had 4 babies in my 30s. And so some of that chilled out a little bit. But honestly, it was like, I have the kid and be like, okay, how do I bounce back? Right? Everyone else is bouncing back. How do I bounce back? Yeah. And it wasn't until late 30s when God really came in and interrupted life as usual for me and was like, Heather, your body image issues are about something completely different. and that kind of started to change everything.
That's so good. And what do you, I want to hear the next part of that story. My next question was going to be, why is body image not just about the way we look?
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, honestly, y'all, I thought I had the God and Jesus answer, taken care of. I grew up in a Christian home. I knew I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I knew that God looked at my heart and not my jean size. I knew I was a daughter of the King. All of the things, I knew them. And yet, I mean, here I was, a Christian woman, and I would have, I'm certainly professed faith, going to Christian high school, Christian college, even Christian graduate school, and believing that like this body image thing was just kind of this side issue that didn't really have anything to do with my spiritual health. It was like, I needed to be saved for heaven, right? And like God and Jesus, eternal security there. But what I really needed on this earth was like one of those makeovers where you're in the crowd in New York City and they just grab you out of the crowd and they transform you. Like that's what I really needed to be good here. And so I didn't see it as a spiritual thing at all. Like I didn't see any connection there. And I was in my late 30s. My husband was getting ready to go into ministry full time. And this was, he's a Marine fighter pilot who's like just learning everything he can because he didn't grow up churched. So he's listening to sermons that are blaring through our house all the time. And candidly, I'm like, can't we just listen to music or something? But no, we're listening to sermons. But he was listening to a pastor who's now gone on to heaven, but Tim Keller.
Oh, yeah,
and he's listening to Tim Keller, and I hear Tim Keller, I'm cleaning my kitchen, y'all, and I hear Tim Keller talk about modern day idolatry. Now, I'm raised in the church. I know the 10 Commandments, and I pretty much am sure that the first one, like no idols, I've got taken care of, right? Because we don't have any statues in our home. I don't bow down to Buddha when I go get Chinese food, like not a problem. And I hear Keller explain what idolatry is. And really the way he put it was that idolatry is anything we look to in our lives to save us here on this earth that isn't Jesus. And for me, like it wasn't audible, but I certainly heard the Holy Spirit whisper to my heart, Heather, this is your problem with your body. Heather, you have been trying to change your body, trying to fix your body, trying to get a body that you thought would just make everything rainbows and sunshine, right? If I could just get to the size, if I could just get the look, just get everything to come together, then everything in life will be wonderful. And I was really looking to getting a better body to save me here on the earth. And so once I learned it was an idol, that changed everything for me. And it's weird, right? Because it's like, oh, idolatry, what a great thing to know about. Like, but it really was that turning point that changed it all.
Oh, that is so good, babe. And I relate literally to everything that you just said. And I remember getting to the point where I was like, I had this goal weight in mind and I got to that goal weight even a little bit thinner. And it was like, I was scary. And I posted the picture and I was at the beach and I got all the fire emojis and all the stuff. And I was like, I've done it. And I literally I had never been so deep in my drinking and other things that I was so broken in that moment. And I was like, oh, this is not actually going to save anything. Yeah. And then to your point about idols, it's just the amount of time, money, headspace that I had focused on exercising, counting calories, weighing myself in the morning, tracking how all of the things. I was just like, oh, this is taking up a lot of time. Like I say that once I ditched alcohol, I had to ditch the scale because it was totally an idol for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this quote that says, what you worship in your solitude is your religion. And that was the one that really startled me because it was like, oh, if I'm honest intellectually about what I'm thinking about in my head all the time, it's my body or what I ate or what I'm going to eat or how I'm going to exercise. And so that really shook me up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, when we are talking to gals about alcohol, like it's so much about the deep-seated, long-term conditioning that women come to with this laundry list of beliefs about alcohol. But when we're talking about body image, it's as a result of diet culture, right? And so, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have to blame diet culture, but I also think, our hearts are idol factories, right?
Yeah.
And so we are always looking for a way to find our own glory. I mean, that's kind of yucky to say, but a way to find our own glory outside of Jesus, a way to like make our mark, find our place, find our security, like save ourselves from rejection. So yeah, I mean, diet culture, for those that aren't familiar with that term, and I don't know, maybe you talk about that term all the time on the show, but the air we breathe is, if you have a better body, you will have a better life. right? And early on in this journey, when I started speaking and writing, I would tell people, that's what we're told, but all you have to do is look at the magazine cover to disprove that, right? Because there she is in her bikini, and you're checking out of the store and you're like, I wish I looked like that. But if you read the headlines around her, what do they always say? Like how she coped after he cheated, or how she almost ended it all, or her battle with depression. It was like, that's the whole story, right? And marketers and diet culture tell us you get that body and you are free. You get that body and everything in life changes. But read the headlines around her and you'll see it's just not true. They're selling us a lie and making a lot of money off it too. But, but yeah, I mean, so it's both, and it's diet culture and what happens in our hearts.
Yeah. I love that so much. I love that so much. This is the thing, right? Like we're talking about how body image, overcoming it, like not being so obsessed with and idolizing like what we look like. And I find it sometimes really hard then when we're also saying, as women who talk to women all the time about ditching alcohol, right? About how important joyful movement is and exercise. And I don't even actually like to use the word exercise anymore. I like to use the word joyful movement, which I know you do too. And how, at least for me, there was a huge shift when I started moving my body for the benefits of mental health and actually growing closer to God, right? Like doing a lap around the park with a worship song on or whatever,
Right.
How that is so important, and how that shift from like penalizing your body to look a different way or skinnier or whatever it is as exercise versus joyful movement. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a gym rat. I taught classes. I was a fitness instructor for 15 years. It was kind of an aha moment for me one day when my youngest was very little and he wanted to go to the park. And I didn't have time to go to the gym that day, but I was like, okay, I got to be a good mom here. I'm going to just walk with him to the park. And he was riding a little scooter. He decided he wanted to ride a scooter, and the scooter went fast. And I was like, I'm just going to kind of like jog behind him. And then it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, this is exercise. Like, this is movement. Like, I am moving my body. And I had to kind of process, like, why do I only think it counts if it happens in a gym, like with my tracker on, with the burned amounts, showing, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I think some of the question under your question, Christy, is about letting go of black and white thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Like letting go of these narrowly defined ways that we are told we have to be, quote unquote, healthy. Right. And the narrowly defined ways include, like, you have to, exercise for this amount of time and in this particular way, and you have to eat this particular way. And then, we all know the crazy that happens with like the way we've been on the roller coaster with eat this, not this, eat this, not this, and so
Oh, yeah.
really breaking out of the black and white thinking to come to, a more neutral, like, what? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like taking a walk, even if only 5 minutes, taking a walk around my block, like that's going to feel good. And I can do that without having to, obsess over the fact that I didn't get the whole workout in, just really shifting to, a more organic way to relate to movement.
Yeah. I love that so much.
That's been such a game changer in my life. After finding freedom from alcohol, it was this, kind of awakening to, I lived in this cycle of, okay, well, if I'm drinking this, then calories are here, then this is what I have to do in the gym to burn that off, to compensate for that. And then also that means I can't have the dessert because I have the calories in the wine. And then it's not exercise. It's not a workout unless I'm leaving the gym feeling like I'm throwing up, like on the verge of throwing up. So like I never in a million years would have considered a walk as exercise, so to speak. And then I figured out a new term for it. I looked at those stories, became aware of those stories. One of the beautiful things about finding freedom from alcohol is you have this new time and space and these like new eyes, and you're like, oh, and this is here. And oh, I get to look at this too and see where these stories are keeping me stuck. And it was this like realization that moving your body without the end goal of it looking a certain way is actually enjoyable. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knew?
It feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there's so many mindset shifts that have to happen to get to that place. And by trying that, I know that, we talk a lot about like that kind of war with our bodies instead of like including like our bodies are not a project to, to sculpt. And can you speak a little bit about that and your experience? And
Yeah. Well, when you view your body as a project, it's kind of like any home remodeling project, right? Like we paint the bathroom and then you realize that, the trim doesn't look white anymore. And then you have to paint the trim. And then you realize the trim connects to the rest of the house. So then you got to paint the trim in the whole house. And then and it's like one thing. And then you need new flooring, you need new furniture. And it's the same with our bodies, right? Like I think this body image idol tells us if you could just lose a couple pounds, like then you'll be settled, then you'll feel good. And instead, you get there, Christy, like to your point. I mean, I hear this every week from women. I reached my goal weight and I still didn't feel good. I thought it must be 5 more pounds. It must be 5 more pounds, right? So it's once you realize it's never going to be enough, you can kind of free yourself. And back to what I think God intended, which is your life is supposed to be more like about so much more than trying to get your body a certain way. And oh, by the way, aging is real. And so even if you can get your body a certain way, it's not going to stay that way for very long unless you find some more extreme measures to keep it that way, right? It's kind of a dead end street. And, our bodies were made on purpose for a purpose. Right? Like, okay, I used to worry about the fact that I didn't look like a supermodel and kind of lament the fact that I didn't do any modeling. But y'all, I'm 5'5". God didn't create me for modeling. Right? No agency was ever going to take this girl. Right? But honestly, like it's kind of silly to say, but once I figured that out, it was like our bodies give us all the clues we need about what we were made for. And so no, God didn't design me for modeling, but he gave me these short, fast fingers and I can type like 1 million words a minute, which is really helpful if you're writing books. So figuring out that our bodies are not a project to make look a certain way, but our bodies give us hints about why God designed us and what he designed us for. I think that's so freeing.
Yeah, that's good.
Responding to the heartfelt requests from you, our wonderful, wonderful listeners, for a deeper sense of community, we are so excited to introduce y'all to the But Jesus Drink Wine community.
Get ready to be part of an exclusive experience where you'll join a sisterhood of kindred spirits on a transformative journey of faith, sobriety, and personal growth.
You'll gain access to our private community, a place where deep connections can flourish among women who share your aspirations of strengthening faith in Christ and breaking free from alcohol.
But wait, there's more. We'll host regular connection calls to facilitate fellowship with like-minded gals, no matter where you stand on your alcohol or faith journey. Whether you're seasoned or just curious, you are very warmly welcomed here.
Prepare to be inspired by guest expert sessions and engaging Q&As that explore the essential topics for your sobriety, faith, and holistic wellness journey.
Don't miss out on securing your spot. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
We can't wait to see your beautiful face in the But Jesus Drank Wine community.
That is really, really good. I personally feel like freedom from kind of like body image and body issues is one of those things for me personally that is an ongoing issue. It's not like freedom from alcohol where like I know we always say like we don't say we're never going to drink again, but I'm pretty sure I'm never going to drink again. I just don't desire it. But I do have like days, and Mead's usually on the other end of like I think I did this too, like last summer. I went to a wedding and then I got a picture back of me at the wedding. And I like literally opened my Voxer and I like cried to Mead and I was like, I look so awful in this picture. And I feel like, please, can you like pray for my like thoughts about my body because I'm sinking back into this dark hole. And so I feel like it keeps coming back. And so can you encourage me?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, meanwhile, that picture, by the way, I just have to say, go back to her Instagram from last year with the wedding she's talking about, because this picture of her is just, she's so joyful. What I see is joy and like life, abundant life. Anyway, just a little plug there. Everyone go to Instagram.
You're so cute.
Well, what I often find, so for me personally, when I was in like the depths of disordered eating disorder stuff, my wedding day was probably the height of that. And I got my wedding pictures back and I was like, oh my word, I hate these pictures. Like,
I did that too, babe. I did that too. I couldn't even look at them.
Right. And do you look at them now and see them differently?
Oh yeah, totally. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so cute back then.
Right. And so that's what I tell myself when I see pictures now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to stare at this now. I'm not going to, like, because I might actually really like this picture in 20 years.
That's so good.
I'm not going to delete it, but I'm not going to obsess over it. I'm just not going to, like, not that we can bury our heads in the sand and make everything better. I certainly never endorse that. Right. But when it comes to pictures, there's a healthy amount of ignoring, I think, that gets us through. And sometimes just because we see the picture, like you said, on the bad body image day, and yes, it is different. You will have bad body image days. I mean, I think body image freedom is really having the tools to know what to do to ride through those bad body image days without going back to all the disordered behaviors that you've tried for maybe decades to fix the bad body image, because you understand that, you know what, no amount of dieting, exercise, supplements, no amount of those is actually going to fix the way I feel about my body. So I need better tools than that. And that's kind of what I try to provide through this workbook. But recognizing there will be bad body image days, I need the tools to know what to do when I feel that way and then ride through it. I mean, we women, we've got our emotions, right? I don't know how many times I've been so mad at my husband, gone to bed so mad. And I'm like, do I want to start the fight now? Or do I just, I'm like, no, I'm tired. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning. And then wake up the next day and it's like, oh, I don't really care about that anymore. I'm so glad I didn't start that fight. And it's the same with our body image. Like, can you just ride it through, get a good night's sleep?
I love that.
And maybe you'll be okay.
Craving. Yeah. I love that.
I also love that you just completely, I think we should name this episode freedom to take pictures, freedom to take photos of yourself, because what we just pinpointed too, I think is so, so valuable, because it is, oh my gosh, I love it. You're right. Those pictures. And that's something that I do find myself at times. I'm like, gosh, I have aged and I do look a lot different, but I'm just literally live processing that, y'all. So I don't know what you want to do with that. I just had to say that is happening in real time and space, you guys. I am thinking about, I'm going to take more pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also the freedom to take pictures. It's also the freedom to do the things without I don't know. I'm just automatically going to getting off the lounge chair and getting in the water with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter if I have a fake tan on or if I'm whatever, you know what I mean? The amount of times where I'm sitting here with my cover up on because I haven't been
I'm gonna lay here
good.
perfectly.
I'm gonna lay here perfectly, and because I haven't been good this week. Oh gosh, why do we do it to ourselves? We're so annoying.
Well, let me rock your thoughts with just one other little thing here.
Bring it.
When we see a picture of ourselves, or when we're kind of in our heads about how we look at the pool, realize that everyone else has been looking at you and sees you so much more than you see you, right? So no one else is surprised at how you look. No one else is like, I can't believe that's how she looks today. They're looking at you all the time. They see you all the time. It's just we get surprised about ourselves. We look in the mirror, or we look at the picture oh, that's what I look like? Whoa. But people aren't saying, oh, avert your eyes. Here comes the hideous ogre. They're loving you. They're interacting with you. They already see and accept you. So really this comes down to, why do we have such a hard time seeing and accepting ourselves?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's who are we really trying to please in that equation? It's not that I want to look good for other people. They already know what I look like. Right. Yeah. It's that I've got to look good for me and my standards. And that's when it starts to get really messy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. That's so, so good. Also, I don't think anything, I don't know if help is the right word, but has put, I think, this whole conversation into perspective more than seeing my daughter Ella, now newly 14, and the pressure that I know is coming from that little box TV, her screen, her phone, that she watches way too much. But it's just, so I don't even want to add one milli iota, that's not a word, but of any sort of second guessing about what I may or may not be eating, how I may or may not be talking to myself in the mirror, all of it. And so I'm assuming you have 4 kids. I'm assuming you have a girl.
I have one daughter. Yeah.
Okay.
She's 16.
Okay. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say 14 was actually really bad. I feel that those transition years into the teen years were a really hard space. And And I saw her watching YouTube influencers and doing lots of exercises. And I was like, oh no, here we go. This is the way, like, mom didn't have YouTube, but mom was at the YMCA doing aerobics. I saw that pattern start. And, we've tried to be careful. Like, obviously we don't use the diet language and all the things, like, tried to be careful about that. But really what I've noticed made the biggest difference in her life was really selling out to Jesus, right? Just really recognizing that there is nothing else in this world that will satisfy her. And so I know that might sound like Christian cliche, but I think instead of trying to like, okay, I've got to have like this boundary here and make sure she knows this, and like the best thing we can do is show her what a healthy relationship with Jesus is. Admit to her. I mean, I've admitted to my daughter many times. She used to go to speaking engagements with me, so she's heard my story. But like, we've talked about idolatry. We've talked about how, okay, yeah, you see these women and it looks like they've got it all, but that's not true. And so like thinking carefully when you see Taylor Swift and it seems like she's got this ideal life, is that true? Or is there something missing? And just having those real conversations.
Tell there's a lot missing by her recent album. Sorry.
Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Don't cancel us.
But helping our daughters see that.
Never, but she's struggling. I'm saying it. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. Helping our daughters see that, I think, is one of the best things we can do. And, like I was raised, so Entertainment Tonight was a thing. I think it's still a thing, actually. But like that was the show we watched at 7:30, like every night before whatever was on prime time. So we watched Entertainment Tonight, and my mom like pointed out he had lost weight and he looks really good. And those were the messages that I received. It was not about me necessarily, but I learned like that's what makes someone valuable. And so really trying to be careful not to do that in our home, not to pick out like who's beautiful on the screen or, who looks good after Ozempic, all the things, right? Just really valuing, like, is she a woman of good character? Like, oh, look, that woman loves Jesus. That makes her really beautiful.
This is what I take from it, because I think this is what happened, and it kind of goes back to the photo conversation. But once I found freedom from alcohol and I was like kind of looking at these other places, I prayed that God would show me what I look like through using his eyes. And it was great because it did offer this freedom. Like eventually I did see myself. When I looked in the mirror, I did see, I think, maybe what he sees. And I wasn't so focused on the new lines on my face that were popping up, or when my kid would point out, that my hands look like my mom's, or whatever. Like those things didn't bother me anymore because I had new vision. I was starting to see myself differently, but then that made the contrast of when I did see myself in the photo. I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Anyway, which was really funny, but I still choose to see through God's eyes. Okay. Not saying not that, but what I am kind of putting together too is that as long as I'm focused on him, then I'm not focused on me. And so for, like you said, for your 16-year-old daughter, because I have found that to be true with my daughter as well, as long as her eyes are pointed on him, there's less time to worry about, all of that. And it reminds me of that Free of Me study, Christy, that we love, that we did, where it's like, wait a minute, it's not about me. Praise God. It's not about me.
Yeah. I do this illustration. It's called the mirror tilt. And I don't have a mirror here, so I have to just like use my hand, just pretend this is a mirror. And so culture tells us what we need to do is we need to just like keep looking in the mirror until you find something you love about yourself. So you don't like your nose, like you focus on your chin, or you don't, like you just find something about you to love and you just keep staring harder and harder. You say, I love me, affirmations, right? I don't know if you caught the Oprah thing last week, but you jump naked in front of your mirror. And it's like, what in the world? Like, I would never do that. But that's what culture tells us, right? You just stare hard and long into the mirror until you love it, or convince yourself, fake it till you make it, convince yourself you love it. But I think as believers, what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to tilt our mirrors up. Because really what I'm called to is reflecting Jesus, right? And then the pressure's off. I don't have to make the mirror happy. I just have to reflect him. And I can do that on a bloated, bad hair day. Like I can do that when I'm feeling good or bad, because the pressure is off of me and I'm stopping that whole ridiculous thing of trying to please the mirror and instead just trying to please the Lord.
Yeah, that's so good, babe. That is so, so good. So good. I love it. Wait, what did Oprah say? Jump in front, up and down naked in front of the mirror? What?
So Oprah did this big special with Weight Watchers last week. Oh, well, I don't know when this will air, but
I thought Weight Watchers let her go because she's on Ozempic.
Well, she stepped off the board, but then Weight Watchers hosted with her a big conversation called Making the Shift about thinking about our bodies differently. Okay. But it was moving to watch, but most of it didn't have any meaty answers, right? It's like you struggle. Well, just stop struggling. You just need to feel better. And it's mindset. And some of that is true, right? We do have to renew our minds biblically, but it's mindset with like affirmations and just a new age kind of mindset. And I watched all 3 hours of it thinking, we've identified this huge problem. So many women are just deep into this struggling, and we don't have any good answers for them culturally. Like, this is really our time as Christians to get our acts together, right? Like we need to know who we are in Christ and stop obsessing over our bodies so we can help a hurting world.
Yeah.
So true. Good, and it's because like the new agey sells things, like they're just, I mean, the end goal is money. Like, they're selling a product, but also what I just find so annoying, and we were planning going here, but I'm just going to go here and we can come back, y'all, I promise, is that like, because the affirmations don't work, it makes me feel more shame about it. So I already feel shame because I don't like the way I look. And then I'm trying to do the things that the world is selling me as the fixes, and it's not working. So then I must be doing something wrong, which means there's something wrong with me, which means now my shame is double, which means, if I do have a unhealthy relationship with food or alcohol or whatever it is, I'm going to be consuming those things more or buying more of the diet products and all the things that make them rich and keeping me stuck. So it's all a scam, you guys. Okay. I just want to say it's all a scam.
It is.
Such a scam. It's not a scam. Everything else is a scam. That is it.
Literally, when you were just saying that, babe, I remember a night where I was literally feeling like bloated and my dress was tight. And this is obviously back in the drinking days, because my first thought was like, after about 2 glasses of wine, I won't care that my dress is tight. Like, what? Like, it's just so insidious, isn't it? It's just like, the devil. It's just coming at her from all angles. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, why would he? I mean, I think alcohol might be a little bit more complicated than food, right? But I speak to women all the time.
I think it depends.
Maybe
for kind of hard, but yeah.
But it's like the enemy wants to take us out, and if he can do it with a box of Thin Mints, like, isn't that kind of lame on my part? I would let a box of Thin Mints like take me out of the game for a day or a week, right? Because I'm like, oh, should I eat them? Should I not eat them? I shouldn't have bought them. Oh, I did buy them. How many should I eat? Oh no, I ate too many. Like that's ridiculous. Like the amount of mind space and energy there, I could actually be doing something productive. And productive for the kingdom instead. But all he has to do is just land one green box of Girl Scout cookies in my house. It's too easy for him.
And then we destroy ourselves. Like he just sits back and like, hey,
it's too easy.
It's too easy.
We need to make it not easy.
Amen.
I also love, by the way, I just realized this right now that we're like recording this at the beginning of summer. So like, I'm just hoping it just encourages the gals listening that like your body, and this is a just Connolly line, but your body is already ready for summer. Right. And you don't actually have to do anything to fix it. Like, it's your body and it's going to do all the things that God wants you to do this summer. That doesn't matter what you look like. Yeah. Can you say a little bit about just encouraging gals as we go into the warmer months?
Yeah. I mean, our ultimate purpose is to love God and love others, right? And if you think about the people that you love the most, do you love them because they look great in a swimsuit?
Like, no.
No, you love them because probably of the way they love you or the way they care for others or how thoughtful they are, how kind they are, how they reflect Jesus, right? And so we handicap ourselves believing that we can't participate in summer activities or, go out on the boat with friends or go to the lake or go to the pool or go to the beach, right? Because we don't look a certain way. And really what people want from us most is our genuine love, care, authenticity, like just showing up matters. And when we take ourselves out of the equation because we don't like our size, we're missing out on so much, and really the opportunity to connect with others, to love others well. Like, that's what makes us feel alive. Like, I have worn a very small size and shown up at the beach and had a miserable time because I was still worried about what I looked like. And I spent the whole time there thinking about, well, what do they think about what I look like? And like you were talking about, like the leg posture, and you can't have your legs flat on the chair because that squishes them and makes your thighs look big, so you have an angle. Like, I have spent so much of my life obsessing over all of that in smaller sizes, and I missed out on so much. It just didn't matter. No one was thinking about that except for me. So I am done with that, and I would encourage anyone listening, hey, just give summer you. Give your family and friends you. That's what they want. They don't want you with a better body. They just want you. And a you that's not obsessing over this is going to be a nicer, healthier you.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And the women that are, haven't gotten to the point where they're doing this work / they're believers. Like, the other thing that I learned too so much about this is the women that I thought, oh my gosh, she has such a rockin' body. Like, when I started to talk to those people, I did not want to be in that person's head because I know like what it took to get like those bodies, like in a way that I knew that like how my mind went when I got to that goal weight that was ridiculous, And so it's the same thing with alcohol. Like, once you realize the mental real estate, like, you can listen to us all day long on this podcast. You can do this amazing workbook, and you totally should do this workbook, you guys, because it's awesome. But like, until you realize the headspace that you have when like thinking about your body 24/7 is not hijacking you, you get to focus on bigger, better things and loving people and loving God. But it's one of those, it's just those experiential knowledge things, right? You have to like experience it to believe it.
Right. And it could sound scary. Because I know for me, it was like, I don't know what I would do with all that free time in my head.
Yes.
Like, what am I going to think about if I'm not planning food and exercise all day long? Right. And I actually address that at the end of the book. Like, what do I do now? Because it's uncomfortable. It really is uncomfortable. And yet it is so beautiful and so freeing, and just, you can like finally inhale and exhale, and that feels good.
Yeah. That's what so many people in this space, and they're stuck in the drinking cycle, and they're like, but I'm going to be bored. I'm going to have more time and space. And what am I supposed to do with that? And I'm like, anything you want, you guys, like free from alcohol, free from all the mental real estate of worrying about your body, and all of that. It literally is the time hack that nobody talks about. It's the time hack. Like, you want more than 24 hours in your day so you could do all the things. Free yourself from this mental real estate, and you will find that you have hours to do whatever you want.
Yeah. Love it. So true.
Sorry, I got really excited.
And I love it when you get excited.
I know. Sometimes I just go.
Wait, so Heather, talk to us a little bit too about the new book, because I want to hear about that too, even though we were going to just talk about the 40-day workbook, but talk to us about Aging Gracefully, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's actually Aging Gratefully, which is a little twist, because no one is grateful for aging. Right? So it's a 30-day devotional, and it's really aimed at women in midlife, so 40 to 65, and talks about just all the things women in midlife experience, like all the different aspects of aging. I spent a couple chapters on body stuff, of course, and the great perimenopause, and no one loves talking about that, but I did. But just all the other things too.
More people, especially more Christians, need to talk about perimenopause.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
It happens. Yes.
Okay.
Krista feels very passionately about sharing about her perimenopause.
I'm very, very, very passionate about perimenopause. You guys just suck.
It does suck, and we need to talk about it so we don't feel shame and confusion about why we're here. But so Aging Grateful is just they're short devotional pieces. They each chapter, each day ends with a little action step you can do. So one of them is clean out your closet. Because if those clothes you wore in your 20s or 30s are still there and they don't fit you at 45, it's okay to go ahead and get rid of them. So I take a much nicer tone than that, but there's just really practical, encouraging things to kind of help process aging at midlife and be grateful for it.
Yeah, that's so great. And tell everybody where they can find the books and where they can find you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the books are available like all the places, anywhere books are sold, Amazon, christianbook.com. You can go to my website, improvebodyimage.com, and you can find links to them all. I also do some coaching work as well. And I'm taking a group of women through the 40-day book on a regular interval to just do it together. So that's an option. And my podcast is called Compared to Who. And I'm on socials as Compared to Who.
That's so awesome. Wait, so where do you do the 40-day workbook with people? Do you do that in like a Facebook group, or how does that work?
We do it through Zoom. So you sign up at improvebodyimage.com.
Okay.
And then we've got a Zoom group that runs. It's a weekly meeting to kind of keep everyone on pace for the 40 days.
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
so great. We'll definitely pop that in the show notes so everyone can find it. Thank you, babe.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks for having me. It was great to be with you.
So
Loved it.
Fun. Loved it.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrinkwine.com, and be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Love Life Sober, and I'm Not Sober, I'm Free. To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites, meethollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com. Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two. And don't forget to subscribe to our pod so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle find hope and encouragement. Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday.